So let's add some code to our main activity.java file. So go to the Java folder here and then go to main activity.java, and in here first of all we need to import some library to add these fragment manager and fragment transaction. Okay, so just add these three libraries or import these three libraries, which is import android.app.fragment. Second is import android.app.fragment manager, which we will use to change fragment or remove fragment, right? And import the third library called android.app.fragment transaction. Okay, so you just need to add these three libraries, and now we are going to add a function. Okay, so let's add a function, for example void change fragment, for example. Okay, and we will pass one argument, view. Okay, and then inside this function or method we are going to write our code. Let's make it public, and to resolve this just press Alt Enter. Now inside this method what we are going to do is, first of all we will create an instance of fragment. So fragment, and we will name it as fragment itself, for example. Okay, now we want on button click event we want to open a fragment, right? So what we are going to do is we are going to check which button is clicked first. So if view is equal to find view by ID, and we will search for example ID of button 1 first of all. So r.id.button, which is our first button, and if this button is selected we will write some code. Otherwise, if the other button is clicked, what we are going to do, we will just copy the same code, but this time we will check if button 2 is clicked or not. Okay, now inside these if condition, if button 1 is clicked, what we are going to do is we will assign to this instance the object of fragment 1. Okay, so this is our fragment 1 class which inherits fragment, right? So we can use polymorphism property here. So to this fragment instance, which is our instance of fragment, we can just assign a new fragment 1 class or object like this. Okay, and if the button 2 is selected, we will just call fragment 2 class, which is this one, fragment 2, with a spelling like this. Okay, so it should be fragment 2. Okay, so we have created fragment 1 and fragment 2 classes whenever we have created this layout. It's automatically created these classes, fragment 1 and fragment 2, right? Now once you assigned the instances of fragment 1 and fragment 2 to the main fragment instance, now we will add a fragment manager, and then we will do some transaction. So go to your first if condition, and here we will create an instance of fragment manager. We will name it as fm, for example, is equal to, And what we are going to do, we are going to call a function called get fragment manager. Okay, and then we will create an instance of fragment transaction, and we will name this fragment transaction instance as ft, which will be fm, which is our fragment manager dot begin transaction. Okay, and using this transaction, what we want to do is we want to replace, or we want to replace the fragment to the fragment 1. If the fragment 1 fragment 2 is placed in the fragment in our main activity, then whenever one button 1 will be clicked, it will replace the fragment to fragment 1. Okay, so we will just use this ft dot replace, and this replace function takes two arguments. One is the fragment id. So if you remember, whenever you go to this activity underscore main.xml file, here we have given the id to this fragment, right, which was fragment place, right? So we have created this fragment, and the id for this fragment was fragment place, or you can see, click this fragment and you can see the id fragment place here. So we will go to the main activity.java file, and in here pass the first argument by placing the id of the fragment, right? So r dot id dot fragment place. Okay, and the second argument it takes is the fragment instance, which is this one. Okay, now we will do the same for the other if condition. If button 2 is selected, what we are going to do, we are just going to copy this and paste it here. Okay, with no changes. So now our code is almost complete. There is one more thing I think which is remaining, is whenever we call fragment transaction, we need to commit this transaction. So ft dot commit. Okay, so whenever you begin a transaction, you need to commit the transaction also. So just place this transaction code here. And one more thing which is remaining is we need to add this method to the button click event of button 1 and button 2. So we have created this change fragment method. So go to your main activity, or activity underscore main.xml, and in here just choose the button 1. So just select button 1 and search for the property called on click, and select your method which you have created, change fragment. Okay, same we will do for fragment 2. So select fragment 2 and search for the property called on click, and select your change fragment method from here. So whenever some button is clicked, this method will be called. Now we are going to run our program. So now our program is running. You can see by default this fragment 1 is selected here. If you remember, we have given green color to fragment 1 and red color to fragment 2, right? So by default fragment 1 is selected, and whenever I click this button fragment 2, the fragment 2 will be set in here, right? Whenever I click fragment 1 is set. So you can just change these fragments by clicking these buttons, right? Now in these fragments you can create your functionality, like if you want to add some image, you want to make a registration form, or some UI which you want to add to the fragment, and on the button click, these fragment will be replaced on fly whenever you click button. So in this way, Fragment works in Android. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and bye for now.